Hello and welcome to the second MK Dons sports podcast, courtesy of MK Web. I'm Dan Palmer. I'm here with Scott Kirk.
Hello,
how's it going, alright?
Yeah, all good.
I mean, since the last time we spoke, it hasn't really been going too well for the Dons. 2 defeats, lost 3-2 to Gillingham on Saturday and knocked out the Johnston Paint Trophy on Tuesday night, 2-1 defeat to Stevenage. Should we start with the Gillingham game?
Yeah.
Remember last time we were talking about Tom Flanagan getting his big chance and coming into the team for his first game with Anthony Kay out injured. And it couldn't have gone any worse for the young lad, really, could it? Sent off, gave away 2 penalties, all within the opening stages of the match. You've got a feel for him, haven't you?
Oh, it was just, I mean, it's the nightmare scenario for any footballer, I think that. That's his. But I think that was something Carl said after the game, which I thought rang very true, is that I think he was too enthusiastic. I think he'd lost the ball for one of them, and then he just stuck his foot in for the first penalty. I mean, but then for the second one, whether he got the ball or not, it went through the back of him, and just before that though, the penalties, it came across and did a really good challenge, and you can see his potential. He's a confident lad. He's a big lad. Or he's a tall lad, I should say. Maybe needs to bulk up slightly, but to play in that role. But it's just a nightmare scenario for the lad, really, and you just got to feel for him. I mean, it does happen to all defenders that to concede penalties, but I mean, everything's just gone against him there at Gillingham, right in front of their fans who he played with last season and who did really well against last season. So if you're a Gillingham fan, you just sort of, you just got to take the mickey out of him, really, But I felt really sorry for him more than anything. It can happen to anybody, any footballer, that, and it's just got to. I think his key lesson is that he's got to keep his cool, because he's clearly not done that. Against Gillingham.
Well, Dons fans, they might remember a game last season away at Brentford when there was a guy named Zeli Ismail, a young winger, on loan from Wolves. Right. He was just like you say. Flanagan was really enthusiastic, and he was flying into some challenges. He got booked, and he was still flying in. He's like a kid before Christmas, and Carl had to take him off as a sub in the first half, actually, because he could see what was going to happen. He was going to get sent off. He was so pent up. So these young players, though, they're just obviously so keen to get out there and.
Well, it's the chance, isn't it?
It's the chance, yeah.
It's the chance to get. So you can see it, but it goes the other way for them, and. I think luckily for Tom Flanagan, the injury crisis at the back is very, very severe. I think it was only a 1-match ban, so I think he'll probably end up coming straight back in the team.
Yeah, it's lucky when you get a JPT game to use up suspensions.
Very much,
So he should be back for Saturday, hopefully. Just needs to maybe cool down a little bit. It is difficult though for these players, and obviously Dons went 2-0 down, both penalties scored by. Danny Kebwell, a man with AFC Wimbledon connections, which wouldn't have gone down well with the travelling supporters, but they did superbly to get back into the game.
I mean, Bamford was a revelation in that first half. He was absolutely superb. His header, I mean, Robinson's been telling him to get his header sorted out. That header was unbelievable that he did for his great finish. I mean, his second goal was just, he is a classy player. He really is, and he wasn't really in the game at Stevenage, but we'll probably talk about that later. But in that, just for that period after the 2 goals, it was phenomenal. I think it kind of went away again after the 2 goals a little bit, maybe in the second half. But they're going to get tired. They're bound to get tired. But Bamford was just awesome, and it was because of him that they got those 2 goals for me. Just the class of those finishes was unreal.
Yeah, we said last week. About will they be able to keep him when his loan expires in January, and if there were any interested shoppers, if you like, looking about taking him to the Championship, perhaps, then that's not going to have done Dons any favours. We almost need him to be a bit quiet until the window shuts at the end of January.
It's a total catch-22, isn't it? Obviously you want your players to score goals and play well, but with the situation of Bamford, if he keeps performing as he is going to be too good, and someone's going to want to snap him up in January. So it's a very, very difficult mix, really. You kind of want him to have a couple of quiet games, but if Bamford's quiet, he's the real sort of fulcrum and the spearhead of the attack, and if he's quiet, you don't know where the goals are going to come from necessarily.
That's it. I think
at the moment, anyway, with all the wingers injured and things like that. So Powell's still coming back and things.
Yeah,
so.
but I think Dean Bowditch is a big loss with his strange bruising of the bone injury, which.
Well, it's all gone quiet on that front, really.
It's very hard to cure.
Yeah, I mean, he was hoping to get on the bench a few weeks ago, and then I think we did a back page on that actually, and then he was really hoping to, we interviewed him, and you could see there, he was up for it, and that obviously didn't happen because of this niggly injury, and since then it's gone quiet for him really, and it's so obviously things aren't quite working out for him, and I mean that's horrible when it's like that, when you don't even know when you're coming back, when you're building yourself up to come back, then you're not. Yeah, that's worse than saying you're out for 3 months to me.
He obviously was a great source of goals last season. I think joint top scorer Ryan Lowe, who's now left the club. You do look behind Bamford. You got McLeod up front, not really firing. Yeah. Where are the goals going to come from?
Well, this is it.
Everyone else needs to chip in a bit more and get them from across the park.
I mean, possession-wise, they're always going to dominate possession just through the style of football that they play. But I think it is concerned from January onwards, maybe. But I mean, got to keep Bamford fit. I think that's the absolute.
Yeah, no, definitely.
There was a stage against Stevenage when McLeod was on the right, and he won the penalty for the first goal. Yeah. Charging in, so that could be an interesting role, because I think normally I was expecting McLeod to be centre forward with Bamford out wide on Tuesday, but obviously Bamford's been scoring goals left, right, and centre, so you can't really, for me, take him out of that position. But he tried McLeod on the right, and he actually, he's a bit of a powerhouse, is McLeod, when he wants to, when he gets the ball at his feet, you can imagine him charging in like that. So we'll see what happens.
He can finish as well. We saw the lovely chipped dink at Sunderland.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful goal.
Yeah.
Just needs to do it more regularly.
Yeah, it's just a confidence thing, I think, with him. As soon as he gets, you'd like to think if he gets one in, then if he can kick on, that's going to help sort of alleviate that. So, yeah. But
unfortunately, after the efforts of getting back level at Gillingham, just couldn't hang on. It's always difficult with 10 men, but we saw Peterborough against Dons get a result.
Yeah.
With 9 men in the end.
That's right.
Unfortunately, we couldn't do the same, and one of those things, I guess.
I mean, I think they were both strange games. I mean, the Peterborough game was strange, and the Gillingham game was very strange as well. They just couldn't. I mean, well, try and think of the second half chances, and to my mind, there were loads. But I mean, they're going to get tired. I mean, what Peterborough did, they got everyone behind the ball, and that was it basically. Once but I think they already had their lead, which I think was the difference. But did they already have their lead? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
So they were able to just get everyone behind the ball to hold on to that lead, whereas I think Dons were constantly chasing. So they had to get forward to try.
Posh got a penalty. You have to go and have the 10, didn't they?
I mean, if you get a penalty as well, so I mean, it was. I mean, it was different, I guess, in that Dons were chasing the game, trying to get back into the game, trying to get in front. Whereas I guess Peterborough already had that lead, but certainly by the time it went down to 9. But and they got the penalty, and they were able to then defend. When you've got something to defend with 10 men, it's a lot easier than trying to go out and get the result. I think
a lot of the time having 10 men, it just means you don't create as many chances yourself. You can still have the 2 blocks of 4 at the back, and defensively it can be very similar. So you're under a bit more pressure, but.
Well, you just lose a man from the front, don't you, if you've got 10 men and you're just defending. Whereas you can't afford to do that when you're 2-1 down, when you're 2-all, you got to go for it, really. But Alan Smith on Saturday playing in defence, and he could have been in net.
Yeah,
so it was unbelievable. He won everything on Saturday. And for a player out of position, I think he was saying himself that he got a bit. We were enjoying it so much that he kept coming forward, and he was going into midfield, and he was like, "No, I've got a job to do here." So, but it was phenomenal on Saturday with Smith. Who
when he first burst onto the scene, who saw him playing as a centre half. I don't think many people would have forecasted that. But
I watched his debut when he played for Leeds. I was at Anfield for that, and it was just brilliant. But he just hassles everybody. He is a workhorse, and. If there's one player who can play out of position like that, it's probably Smith, and he was superb on Saturday. You've got to give credit to him for that.
Yeah, and obviously injury to David Martin.
Yeah.
hobbled on and finished chance for Ian McLaughlin now, maybe.
It is, yeah. I mean, I don't know how long Martin's going to be out for, but he was on crutches out. Saw him coming out the ground on crutches on Saturday, so that's obviously never a good sign.
Yeah.
Whether that was just a precaution or whether he's I don't know if he's broken something or whatever, but obviously it's not good. And it's a big chance for McLaughlin now, but I think Robinson wasn't happy with all the long balls McLaughlin was playing on against Stevenage.
Yeah.
I think he wants him to pass it, regardless of any situation.
Yeah.
And McLaughlin's, it's a great chance for him there now.
Well, a lot of Dons fans would probably put Ian McLaughlin as their number one. He had a great finish to last season when Martin was injured, and he went on loan to Walsall as well and had a good spell there, so he's proven he can be a League One keeper. It's a nice little battle for places in goal, which you don't get at a lot of clubs.
That's true. I mean, I didn't see last year, obviously, but from what I've seen this year, I mean, I've seen McLaughlin. He's played played the 2 games against Northampton, I think, in the Johnson's Painter League Cup, and I must admit, I would go with Martin at the moment. I think.
Nice.
Again, I don't know what happened last season, so I'm not qualified to say what happened there. But from what I've seen this season, Martin just looks really solid, and McLaughlin, Martin just looks the better option to me this season. From the games I've seen, whether McLaughlin will be different in a league game.
Yeah,
I don't know, but,
he kept a lot of clean sheets in League One. He won the MK News Player of the Month competition.
Yeah.
1 month, so
you can't really
probably
complain.
got a choice on his hands. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if he's keeping clean sheets, obviously you can't complain about that, but he's got to do it again now.
One thing that worries me is when Martin is out, then McLaughlin comes in. There's never another keeper on the bench. There's only four subs at Stevenage, wasn't there? And surely there's a youth keeper knocking about, or you only need a sending off in the first minute, and then you've got, like say, Alan Smith in goal for 90, and
you'd think
the contest is over.
You'd think a youth keeper would be better placed to just even have on the bench. I mean, especially if you're not going to use your full bench. You'd think a youth keeper would be quite well placed rather than relying on somebody like Smith, who's never even been in net in a professional game before.
And it seemed like Charlie Burns, the young keeper at the Dons, is warming up on the pitch with goalkeeping coach Paul Heald.
Yeah.
So I'm told.
Right.
Maybe there's a reason why he can't be named, but it's something I'd like to see anyway. Just to, you worry. I worry anyway when there's no sub keeper.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something that Neil Warnock was famous for never having a keeper on the bench. I think that's when he had Phil Jagielka at Sheffield United. He was a really good keeper, but it does concern me never having. You've got to have a keeper on the bench for me. Whatever happens, only takes one knock and I mean, the game can be over because if you're getting an outfield player in net, they're probably going to make a mistake, and you've got to. You're almost praying that they don't. It just can't be a good situation to be in. So, I mean, I'm sure they're not idiots in net, obviously, but you know what I mean. Surely it's better to have even a 16-year-old go in net than an outfield player.
I've seen down at the six-side pitches when we play some excellent players out on pitch. You've given a stint in between the sticks and absolutely useless. So it's a different set of skills.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, of course it is.
Just finally on Gillingham, then a lot was made about the length of the grass. The pitch. Martin Allen, the old Dons manager, obviously aware of the famed passing football at Stadium MK. Apparently,
it was
to leave the lawnmower in the shed.
Yeah, I mean it was long. It really was long.
I'm hearing Carl went up to some members of the Dons travelling support and dubbed it a disgrace.
Well, I mean, he did. I mean, I can't remember if I got it in the paper or not that bit, but he sort of he wouldn't say anything on the record, I don't think, but I think it was clear he wasn't happy about it, and I mean, it was very long. I mean, you could even sort of, I think it was sort of towards the end, Darren Potter was on the pitch and the grass was halfway up his boots. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're not going to be able to pass as much then, are you? So, it is a bit cheeky, but if it's within the rules of the game, you've got to keep advantages for yourself, aren't you?
I guess some people would say, well done, Martin Allen. Obviously, he doesn't want the Dons to come to his stadium and pass him off the park. He's going to do everything he can to. You're
going to want your team to win, aren't you? And I mean, Gillingham before that game, they've won 2 league games this season now. I mean, I don't think the grass is the reason why Gillingham won that game necessarily, but you're going to try and take every advantage you can to to win the game, aren't you? Every advantage you can try and get, you're going to try and take. So that's clearly what he's thinking, which is common sense, really. I think whether it's right or morally right or wrong, I don't know, but you're going to do what you're going to try and do to win the game, aren't you? So he's just done that, I think. So
should we move on to the Stevenage game then? Some very, very strongly worded comments from Robbo after the game. Said it's a shambles. The second 45 minutes were a waste of his life. Said it wasn't acceptable. It was embarrassing. Is that fair?
I think it's
he was obviously really, really annoyed.
I think it's very fair. They were shocking in the second half. Stevenage did really well. You've got to give credit to them. They played really well, but the Dons did play them at their own game. I don't recall many passing moves at all in the second half from Dons, which is very rare.
Just not like them, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. And I mean, the subs initially had a bit of an impact, but the subs didn't really have much of an impact. And Bamford was really quiet in that game.
Stevenage done their homework on him. Maybe,
I think so. Yeah.
Said obviously they had a look at him only a few days ago with the league game, and Dons obviously outclassed Stevenage. Have won 4-1, so they've learned the lesson. I mean, Robinson
was saying that he's not seen McLeod and Bamford. They got absolutely battered. Just long balls up and I think it was just poor. It was just really poor. And I mean, we were sort of speaking. I mean, with other press as well afterwards. You were sort of saying, and you're sort of thinking that's as poor as we've seen this season. So, real shame. But I'm sure people won't be overly gutted about being knocked out of that competition to an extent.
No.
But I mean, when you go out in that manner, I think it's not very good.
Yeah, I guess it's obviously not the main priority. So if you're going to have a poor performance, perhaps it's a good thing that it's been in the JPT and not not in a league game.
It is worth mentioning the injuries there. I mean, the injuries has been ridiculous. To have 8 players again. Missing. It's just, and I mean, Baldock was a doubt to play, and he ended up playing at right back, and you've got Lewington in at centre back, which is not his natural position. Reeves hasn't been playing that much recently. McLaughlin's obviously coming in. I mean, I think he'd probably come in if Martin was fit anyway, though, I would imagine. But I mean, the injury list was massive, but. It's still not an excuse to. I mean, that was an opportunity for those fringe players, for the likes of Banton, and I thought Barrett was really poor. Not meaning to just pick on someone, but that was his chance. To really impress, and he just didn't. And
came off the bench and didn't really make any sort of impact.
You sort of wonder what's going to happen with him now, because Carruthers is back. I can't see him starting again for Dons, to be honest. I could be wrong with that. Again, obviously, when the injuries happen, we'll get another 10 injuries at the weekend. But
no, let's hope not.
It just wasn't impressive, but the whole team wasn't, in fairness. They were just not very good. And you sort of come home thinking, what have I watched there? So,
just to round things off then. Tricky looking trip to just a team I'd describe as a surprise package. Shock leaders of League One, Leyton Orient.
For them to have not lost in the league is. I mean, I thought they could have got relegated.
Run.
Yeah.
Like I say, I had them tipped to struggle, but they proved me wrong. A lot of people wrong.
I'm really interested to see kind of what the fuss is about, really, to see why teams are struggling to beat them. Why they're just not being defeated, whether it is a confidence thing, whether they are on a run, or whether there's a certain standout player or two. I'm really intrigued for Saturday about what's going to happen, because if you could have had 24 guesses, obviously, for who would have been top of the table. Who would have been, 8 games and not lost, and Leyton Orient.
Brave man. Many people. Put money on that.
Yeah, definitely. So. But that's going to be an interesting one. And then it's Rotherham, which I'm gutted to be missing. I can't go to that one. Cause,
that's probably your way, isn't it? So.
Yeah, all my family's from Rotherham, so I would have loved to have watched that. I've got to miss that one, which I'm gutted about. But that's going to be an interesting one as well. But 2 really tough games there, 1st and 4th, I think, in the table.
Yeah.
So these next 2 games. You get through this throughout the stage and saying these 3 points are massive, these 3 points are massive, these 6 points are massive. But these 2 games, it's a real opportunity for Dons to claw them back, and you can't claw them back better than those teams can. So massive couple of games for me.
Definitely, I think Gary Waddock in his MK News column this week alluded to it. I think everyone's waiting for Orient to slip up it can't carry on like this, surely.
No, surely.
Why
not?
Why not on Saturday?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I think on that positive note, we'll
absolutely
bring this discussion to an end. Obviously, check out the latest news, www.mkweb.co.uk, and follow us on Twitter as well, @YourMKWebSport. I'm Dan Palmer, thanks very much.
Cheers, thank you.
See you later, bye.